Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to demo a proof of concept on an interesting idea that I called additive pipeline. Let's think first of all like a scenario. A typical scenario would be you have a merge request and that has a failing job. And now we have also some jobs you have executed before, and now you want to investigate why this job failed. You have a fix ready for it, so you push the fix and now you have to run again the whole pipeline. And imagine that before this test job there's many more jobs that have to be executed again. So now you have to execute the pipeline all the time. And another similar scenario would be when you are building a pipeline from scratch. So you add the first job and then you run the pipeline, then you add another job, and then you add multiple jobs in subsequent stages. But the larger the pipeline it gets, the longer it's also starting to get to execute this pipeline. Another scenario once again would be that you are making a larger factoring to the source code, and you push your changes to a merge request and you have like lots and lots of failing jobs, and so you want to investigate and fix them one by one and without having to run the full pipeline all the time. So with additive pipeline, the concept is I can show how this works. So you have a normal pipeline. For example, you have a job 1 that creates artifact, then you have job 2 that is also successful, and then job 3 fails, job 4 is skipped. If you want to run an additive pipeline, it's basically a pipeline that is built on top of results of a previously completed pipeline. And what we do is like we first create a new pipeline. In order to trigger an additive pipeline, at the moment during the POC, I'm allowing understanding this flag from the commit message like we do for CI skip. And also as a CI skip, we also support push options, but there could be also a parameter eventually through GraphQL or REST API that you pass additive parameter, and that is going to be propagated to the pipeline creation logic. So we have this new pipeline, and we have created through the pipeline creation steps. But before we execute the pipeline, we process it. We are going to look at what previously completed pipeline we have. If we find one, we take the successful jobs only. We don't take the failing jobs or anything that hasn't been run. So we only look at successful jobs, and we copy some of the results over. So these results will be the artifact, could be the traces, and also job variables, since they can be generated through .m artifacts. It could be, you're running a specific job with some variables and they need to be carried over to the job from the additive pipeline. Because what we want to do is we want to simulate that we actually running the pipeline from this point again, but with new commit. So this is like the principle of running additive pipeline. So we copy these results over and we start running the pipeline. So at this point, these two jobs will be in created state, and we run the pipeline processing logic, and which means we're going to have job 3 eventually completing, for example, if the fix is successful, or the will be failing again, and we run a new additive pipeline and we will try job 3 immediately. And then if that succeeded, then we run job 4. And let me show you on a demo how this works. So we have this failing pipeline I was showing in the merge request, and this is the code that I have. So we have a build job that is successful after 10 seconds. We have a test job that creates an artifact, date.txt, which the current date, and it fails. And then we have a deploy job that uses the artifact of test job. So now I want to fix this pipeline. So what I want to do is maybe identify the fix here. It could be in a script, could be anywhere. This test job, since was failing before, is always going to be re-executed. So I have here imagine I have this fix here, and then suddenly the next one job, we don't know yet, since we haven't executed yet, is going to fail. Let's just simulate that. I want to now say, okay, fix test job, and I want to run an additive pipeline. So I do CI additive, and I'm going to push the change. Without this, it's going to run a normal pipeline, and this is not what we want right now. So I'm going to push the changes to my current branch, and I'm going to want to have a look at the pipelines here. It should be created already. Here. We can see actually test job, the build job is already successful, and we haven't even run that. And then we just run the test job right now. And let me open this. Refresh. Now we are actually running the deploy job, and this is going to fail. Yeah. Okay. So we completely bypass, let's say, the build job, since we kind of took the results from previous build, and this actually is the artifact of the previously executed build. It's not the actual artifact here that was created here. We are kind of simulating this was running. We are running again the test job, and the deploy fails. So we created the artifact, and we are going to actually keep this job open, since we have this artifact here we're gonna need for later. And another interesting thing is that now we have this pipeline being marked as additive with this warning message. This pipeline results are based on previously successful jobs. Now, once again, I know what the problem is. Now I want to fix this now. So I fix this, and I'm submitting another fix deploy. I want to run another additive pipeline. Okay. Let's have a look at the merge requests. Now, you see these have been already successful. So we are not running, we're going straight to the deploy job. And let's have a look at what happened here. So since this test job creates an artifact that is consumed by deploy job, now this deploy job runs correctly. But the artifact is using, it's not from this exact instance of job, but it's from the previous instance of job, since we copied over the artifact. So what we are doing here is actually, if you check this timestamp, 9:47:32 is the same as 9:47:32. So we're actually using that artifact. This is kind of to show how the artifact parsing works, which are going to go now in details. So you can see how interesting this could be if you want to investigate like a fix. And then of course, if you want to go back to making another change, just making like a silly change here at the moment, and I want to push a commit. Okay, should run the whole pipeline. I'm not you are running any additive pipeline at this point. So if I push, now I can have the full pipeline being created. So let me refresh this page. And now we have the full pipeline. So it's not additive anymore. So I basically use the additive pipeline to have very fast feedback loop, go straight to a green pipeline. And now I want to run the full pipeline to see if the whole pipeline still makes sense and is still successful. So a few notes on this. Of course, there is something still to discuss. The good side is that we are getting very feedback loops. This could be interesting if you want to, again, fix many jobs and very quickly, or you want to build on a pipeline that you are running and that you are creating for the first time, and you're gonna run only the new jobs or the failing jobs you had. So all the successful jobs are gonna be ignored from a pipeline processing perspective. So very fast feedback loops. Again, can be used to build pipelines iteratively. It can save a lot of compute units, like previously known CI minutes, since we are not going to run all the pipeline all the time. And the bad part is that additive pipelines cannot be trusted, since we are copying artifacts from previous jobs. We are doing some simulation there, and it's not the source of truth. So that means we can't use additive pipelines to then merge requests. So we need to have some logic in the merge requests that, since if the last pipeline is an additive, you cannot merge the merge request, or you cannot set merge when pipeline succeeds, because of this reason that the results cannot be trusted. The ugly part at the moment, again, this can be something where we need to work out some abstractions, is the artifact reference. At the moment, I'm not copying, like duplicating the artifacts, but actually referencing internally some the artifacts from a previous job. So it means if we ask a job, tell me what artifacts you have, it's not going to be the copy of artifacts that belong to that jobs, but actually using the artifacts from a different jobs. There can be some problems with this, like since artifacts potentially can be owned by multiple jobs, and an artifact can disappear because it expires, and it can expire for multiple jobs at the same time, or can be deleted for one job and suddenly it can disappear for another job. But additive pipelines are supposed to be used for very short period of time to reach a very specific goal of get to a green pipeline as fast as possible. They are not meant to be used for audit trails or things like that. And then there's like a bit of a small technical that where trace artifacts are not always propagated, because there is like a 2 minutes delay currently, that this needs to be fixed in the code base. But it means that if you run a pipeline very quickly, a new additive pipeline very quickly, we might not carry over the trace artifacts. So you might have jobs without traces. I think maybe an example here. For example, this build maybe. No, this has it. Maybe this build. Yes, this doesn't have an artifact, because we retried the additive pipeline very quickly, so I didn't have time to actually carry over the artifact. What is currently not covered is primarily how this is supposed to behave with parent-child pipelines. There's some ideas like how to even propagate additive through child pipelines from the bridge job, but it hasn't been explored as part of this POC. So this is something like we need to be doing a little bit more. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'm going to link an issue for feedback on this video, and yeah, so I hope you find this interesting.